dear learners, welcome back to lecture number 2, and we will discuss principles of development, distinction between growth and development, and educational implications. And we are going to cover principles of development, distinction between growth and development, educational implications, and finally certain references are there. Dear learners, in our last lecture, we explored the meaning, definition, characteristics, and nature of growth and development. We saw that growth refers mainly to quantitative changes, while development involves qualitative transformation across physical, mental, emotional, and social dimensions. Today, we are going to build upon that foundation. We will first study the principles of development, the general truths or patterns that govern how development unfolds. Then we shall clearly understand the distinction between growth and development, followed by the educational implications of these concepts for teachers and educators. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain the fundamental principles guiding development, differentiate between growth and development with suitable examples, apply the understanding of growth and development to educational practice. Dear learners, development follows certain predictable patterns. These patterns, called principles of development, help us understand the direction and nature of human change. Let us now discuss the important principles of development. First one is, development is lifelong. One of the most significant principles is that development is lifelong. Many people think of development as something confined to childhood, but that is not so. From conception to old age, individuals continue to grow, learn, and adapt. Childhood lays the foundation, but experiences of the individual across adolescence, adulthood, and even old age refine personality, thinking, and skills. Let's see an example. Adults continue to develop socially and emotionally through relationships, careers, and learning experiences. Psychologists such as Prof. emphasize that learning and change occur throughout life, not just in school, but in workplaces, families, societies, and communities. Development is a continuous process involving gradual changes. Do young children begin walking all of a sudden? Have you seen that? Or are there gradual steps that lead to walking? During infancy, children typically progress through a series of stages. They first crawl, then stand with support, next stand without support, and eventually walk independently. This illustrates that development occurs in incremental steps and continues steadily over time. These changes, which may not always be noticeable daily, reflect ongoing transformations in both the body and behavior. At certain periods, development may accelerate, while at other times it may slow down, yet it never completely stops. Importantly, these continuous changes are not limited to physical growth, but also encompass cognitive abilities, reasoning, and social emotional development in children. Principle of lack of uniformity in the development rate. Although development is continuous, it does not occur at a uniform or consistent rate across different aspects of personality or life stages. Changes in various domains often happen gradually and subtly, making them almost unnoticeable over long periods, while at other times development may occur rapidly and visibly. Rather than progressing steadily, development frequently occurs in bursts. periods of little apparent change followed by sudden growth or advancement. For example, a child may experience a rapid increase in height or a sudden surge in social interest, intellectual curiosity, or emotional maturity, and generally it happens during adolescence. Principle of sequential development. Children's growth and learning follow a specific sequence. For instance, infants typically learn to stand before they can walk, and they scribble before they begin to write. This demonstrates that development occurs in an orderly and progressive manner, with each stage building on the previous one. Most children follow similar developmental patterns where mastery of one stage prepares them for the next. Now we will see principle of individual differences. Each individual is unique and consequently the pace and outcomes of development vary from person to person. This principle highlights that growth and development differ in timing, rate, and expression across physical, cognitive, emotional, and social dimensions, making every individual's developmental journey distinct. Principle of development as a product of maturation and learning. Development occurs through a combination of innate maturation and environmental learning, means environmental forces or environmental factors. Children have genetic potential to sit, stand, walk, and speak, which unfolds according to an internal timetable as their body and mind mature. At the same time, learning through imitation, practice, and experience shapes behavior. Thus, growth and skill acquisition result from the interaction of biological readiness and environmental influences. Now we will see principle of holistic development. A child's development is interconnected, interrelated, with different domains influencing and being influenced by one another. What are the different domains? These are physical, emotional, cognitive. Any difficulty in one area can impact other aspects of growth. For instance, a child with chronic illness or delayed physical motor development may struggle to join peers in physical activities, which can in turn affect social, emotional, cognitive, and language development. The effects of such challenges may be temporary and minor, or in some cases, long lasting and significant. Principle of interrelation. The different dimensions of growth and development are closely connected, with progress or delays in one area affecting others. For example, a healthy body often supports a sound mind and fosters emotional stability and social awareness. Conversely, inadequate physical or mental development can lead to social or emotional difficulties. This interconnection highlights the importance of promoting balanced and harmonious development across all aspects of a child's personality through education and supportive learning experiences. Principle of spiral versus linear development. Child development does not follow a straight, linear path and rarely progresses at a constant pace. At each stage, after reaching a certain level of growth or skill, a child may experience a period of rest or consolidation, during which previously acquired abilities are strengthened before new development occurs. This cyclical or spiral pattern allows for gradual mastery and reinforcement of skills, highlighting that development advances in stages rather than in a smooth, uninterrupted line. Now we will see the principle of cephalocaudal and proximodistal. We already discussed it. Let's see in details. Development follows orderly patterns including cephalocaudal and proximodistal tendencies. The cephalocaudal principle indicates that growth occurs from head to toe. So a child first gains control over the head and arms before the legs, allowing them to eventually stand and walk. The proximodistal principle shows that development progresses from the center of the body to outwards, meaning large muscles near the torso are controlled before the small muscles of the hands and fingers. These principles ensure a systematic and coordinated progression of the child. Development is contextual. Every person develops within a particular context: family, school, culture, society, and historical era. These contexts shape beliefs, behavior, and opportunities. For example, cultural values may influence the age at which independence is encouraged, or gender expectations may affect emotional expression. Therefore, development must always be understood within its context. Principle of proceeding from general to specific responses. While developing in relation to any aspect of personality, the child first picks up or exhibits general responses and learns to show specific and goal directed responses afterwards. For example, a baby starts by waving his arms in a general random movement, and afterward these general motor responses become specific, like grasping an object or reaching out to a toy. Similarly, when a newborn infant cries, his whole body is involved in doing so, but as he or she develops, it is limited to the vocal cords, facial expressions, and eyes. Principle of integration. General to specific, or from the whole to the parts, it does not mean that only the specific responses are aimed for the ultimate consequences of one's development. Kuppuswamy observes development thus involves a movement from the whole to parts and from the parts to whole, and in this way it is the integration of the whole and its parts as well as the specific and general responses that enables a child to develop satisfactorily in relation to various aspects or dimensions of his personality. Dear learners, let's take a closer look at how growth and development differ, yet complement each other. Let's see distinction between growth and development. The term growth refers to quantitative changes in an individual. We already discussed this. Those that can be measured, these changes can be measured and expressed in numbers. It mainly concerns physical changes such as increase in height, weight, size of organs, and structural changes in the body. On the other hand, development is a qualitative and comprehensive process. It refers to progressive changes in the total personality, in thinking, behavior, emotions, social relations, creativity, and moral understanding. For example, a child learning to reason logically, show empathy, or regulate emotions is understanding development, not merely growth. Now let's see the meaning of growth and development. What are the differences? The term growth refers to quantitative changes in an individual, those that can be measured and expressed in numbers. It mainly concerns physical changes such as increase in height, weight, size of organs, and structural changes in the body. For example, when a 6-year-old child grows from 110 centimeter to 115 centimeter in height, we can say that the child has experienced growth. Growth is therefore limited, measurable, and largely biological in nature. It typically continues until physical maturity is reached. after which it slows down or ceases. On the other hand, development is a qualitative and comprehensive process. It refers to progressive changes in the total personality, in thinking, behavior, emotions, social relations, creativity, and moral understanding. Development does not merely mean getting bigger, but becoming better, more organized, more complex, and more functional. It includes mental, emotional, and social maturity that continue throughout life. For instance, a child learning to reason logically, show empathy, or regulate emotions is undergoing development, not merely growth. Now, see the differences between growth and development, and what is the basis of criteria of the difference. The basis of difference is nature of change. Growth is quantitative, refers to increase in size, height, weight, or number, whereas development is qualitative and it refers to improvement in structure, function, and organizations of behavior. And as far as scope is concerned, growth is limited to physical aspects of the organism, whereas development is broader, includes physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and moral dimensions. Measurement. Growth can be measured directly, centimeters or weight, kilograms, whereas development, it cannot be measured precisely, assessed through observation, behavior, and performance of the individual. Continuity. Growth stops when physical maturity is attained, whereas development continues throughout the lifespan from conception to old age. Direction of change. If the criteria is direction of change, then growth is mostly unidirectional and additive, a process of increase, whereas development is multidirectional, involves both progression and refinement, gains and losses occur simultaneously. Determinants. Growth is influenced largely by heredity and biological maturation, whereas development shaped by interaction of heredity, environment, learning, and experience. Time span. Growth is confined mainly to the early years of life, whereas development is lifelong process, continues even in adulthood and old age. We can see the examples. Growth. A child grows taller and heavier each year, and whereas development, a child learns to express emotions appropriately and think abstractly. Understanding. Now we understand the relationship between growth and development. Although they are different, they are closely interrelated. Growth provides the biological foundation upon which development occurs. For example, as a child's brain grows physically, it enables greater mental capacity and intellectual development. Similarly, as muscles and bones strengthen, motor coordination and play behaviors become more refined, a sign of developmental progress. Thus, growth supports development, while development integrates and utilizes growth to build a mature and a capable individual. Now let's see what are the educational implications of growth and development. Knowledge of growth and development is not only theoretical, it is the very foundation of effective educational practice, classroom practices for teachers, for teacher educators. Let us now discuss the key educational implications of growth and development in detail. Recognition of individual differences. Each child develops at a unique pace and in unique ways, physically, cognitively, emotionally, and socially. For example, in a class of 10-year-olds, one child may excel in reading, another in drawing, and a third in sports. The wise teacher acknowledges these variations and provides different learning opportunities suited to each learner's potential. Developmentally appropriate curriculum and teaching. You must remember that every stage of development brings its own needs. So it has implications for teachers as well as parents and school administration. You must remember that every stage of development brings its own needs, capacities, and limitations. Therefore, curriculum and teaching must match the learner's developmental level, a concept called developmentally appropriate practice. Creation of a stimulating and supportive environment. Both physical and psychological environment encourages curiosity, confidence, and creativity. A restrictive or punitive one can inhibit learning and self-expression. Emphasis on holistic development. Growth and development include physical, intellectual, social, emotional, moral, and aesthetic dimensions. For example, a balanced school schedule includes academics, sports, arts, music, moral lessons, and social activities, all of which contribute to complete personality development, and we say holistic personality. Early identification and intervention. Knowledge of growth patterns enables teachers to detect deviations or delays in development at an early stage. Timely identification allows for proper intervention or referral to specialists, preventing later difficulties. Building self-confidence and positive self-concept. As children grow and develop, their self-concept and self-esteem are also forming. Teachers play a crucial role in shaping these through encouragement and constructive feedback. For example, praising effort rather than only success. You worked hard. You worked very hard on that drawing promotes intrinsic motivation and resilience. Fostering social and moral development. Since development includes social and moral dimensions, schools must consciously cultivate values, cooperation, empathy, and respect for diversity. Finally, we can conclude like understanding the process of growth and development allows us to see every child not as a fixed product but as a potential in progress. As teachers, our role is not just to impart knowledge but to facilitate growth and guide development mentally, now we say cognitively, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and morally. By applying these principles in the classroom, we ensure that education becomes not a race but a journey of unfolding human potential. You can refer these books, these are very good books, NCERT, NIOS, IGNO. Thank you and happy learning.